All right, we got Jeff Alulis. Thank you so much for doing the time for JoeyRitter.com.
Pleasure, Joey.
Jeff, you are a highly inspirational guy to me. When I was a middle school lad, you were like the first guy I knew in a local band. Hung out with your brother, who was my best man in my wedding, and always had good stories about when you went to the Troc in Philly to see bands, and you were always the guy that met the bands. And it's no surprise to me that you're out in LA right now, doing it, and working with all those bands that we were listening to back in Vermont, Pennsylvania. So it's a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Now, speaking of those documentaries, you've worked with Bouncing Souls, and you did NOFX Backstage Passport, the highly successful Fuse series. What are you currently working on now?
Right now we're working on Backstage Passport Part II. So I'm editing that together, and I'm also editing a documentary about Hello Kitty. So those are the two big projects that are keeping me indoors these days.
My wife, I like that. So Hello Kitty, is it just the creator of Hello Kitty and how it all got started, or?
I'm actually not even really allowed to talk about it yet. It's still a very hush-hush project, but it's about Hello Kitty and Sanrio, the company that came up with Hello Kitty and all her friends and their history in America. So that'll probably be out at the end of the fall or in the early winter, I think.
Pretty cool.
But yeah. So I'm editing that one, and directing, producing, editing Backstage Passport.
So, speaking of Part 2, is there anything you can tell me? I know you can't give anything away, but something different about Part 2 that didn't take place in Part 1.
Yeah, well, if you saw Backstage Passport Part 1, the concept was that the band NOFX was going to go to a bunch of different countries where punk rock bands normally don't get to play. And in the course of that, a lot of chaos ensued and a lot of hijinks ensued, and some of the shows that they tried to play got shut down and they weren't able to play. Like, for instance, Peru, they weren't able to play. Where else did we go? Colombia, they tried to schedule a show there, and that got canceled before they ever hit the ground. So the new season of Backstage Passport, we're trying to go back to these countries where the show couldn't happen and see if they could try to make the show happen. So we went back to Peru, back to Colombia. Mostly it's all in South and Central America. In Part 1, you didn't see this, but they did go to Mexico City, and they played a festival show, which around maybe 6 or 7 songs into their set, the stage fell apart, and the police shut the show down, and there was a huge riot at the show. So we're going to talk about that, and and then they went back to Mexico City, so we're going to show some Mexico stuff. So we just finished filming the latest leg just a couple weeks ago, actually, and it's going to be great. It's going to be very interesting, and if you like the first one, you'll love this one too. So it's all different hijinks and chaos ensuing in a completely different way.
Well, I was sold before that explanation, but that gets me more excited about it. So you got to visit a lot of once-in-a-lifetime places in the first Backstage Passport. What was your favorite out of all of them?
In the first Backstage Passport, it's always a hard question to answer because we went all over the world. But the one that really sticks out in my mind is going to Beijing, China, and we got to climb a portion of the Great Wall, and that was a big moment for me.
Cannot beat that.
Just to see the Great Wall and walk all the way up to the top of it, and it's just so it was moments like that. In the course of traveling with those guys, you don't get a ton of time to sightsee because the schedule is really hectic, and we're filming them, preparing for a show and getting ready, and then the staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning, like with the aftermath of it, and so it's usually pretty intense. But my partner Ryan Harlan and I, we always make it a point to sort of stop and look around and appreciate the fact that we got to go on this cool adventure with them. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
So I want to ask you about one scene in particular, and you might know what I'm talking about. But it's a very emotional scene where Fat Mike's kind of breaking down by himself in the hotel room, and I'm assuming you were the one that was filming that scene, or was it Ryan? Okay.
Israel, you mean, right? Yeah.
So it was a totally legit thing. I mean, it seemed like he was severely intoxicated, which probably but. but he's like, I miss my daughter. I'm on tour, And then I think that was the last scene of the episode, or kind of, that led on to the next one. But my question is, like, when you hit the stop button on the video camera, you're just like, all right, man, well, have a good night. Good luck with whatever you got going on. I mean, how did that, like, exchange end when the camera?
Scene was, so the scene was in Israel, and he was trying to. It was the day he was in Israel on the day of his daughter's birthday, and he was just he was upset because he couldn't get in touch with her. She was, they were just disconnected all day. He was trying to get, when he had time to call, she was out at the park, doing something else, or. It was legitimate. He got really upset, and but it's not just so much that he gets upset. Like you see in the show, it's edited in such a way where he gets upset and then he rolls over to sleep, and that's the end of the scene. But we probably talked for, I think, 5-10 minutes, maybe a little longer after that, and he just calmed down a little bit, and then then it was then it's like, all right, good night, see you later. It was a lot more natural in real life than you would think, but no big epic. Crazy story. I mean, I guess that's one of the interesting things about going on the road is there are a lot of emotional moments. There's some more that are going to be in the next version of it where, the band has there's some internal strife and whatnot. So they, it's a little bit awkward because our job is to capture it and make sure it gets there, whereas normally, if you were just hanging around as a friend or something, you would maybe walk away, and it's a really strange, muddy line that we walk to try and get everything that we're there to get, but also, try and be respectful as human beings as far as what's going on, in their lives. So it's a tough thing, but yeah.
All right, so we're 10 minutes into this, and haven't even mentioned yet that you were the lead singer of one of the most legendary punk rock bands of all times, the Dead Kennedys, and that just day one on that job, you got huge shoes to fill. And, especially with the internet, trash talkers, whatever, you just have to deal with that all the time. But, don't need to get into, any of how it ended, because I know it probably wasn't the best of, breakups. But I want to know from you, like, what was the most positive thing you took out of that whole experience?
I mean, almost the whole thing was positive. I think, I was in the band for, like, between 3.5, 4 years, depending on when I technically left or whatever. But I mean that's a good chunk of time. It's a big, significant little chapter in my life. It's as long as high school. It's as long as college. So it's like to take one experience away from a 4 years of your life is it's hard to pin down something like so specific or concrete. But got to travel with these guys. Got to sing for one of my favorite bands of all time, got to, meet all kinds of crazy people, just every show, I played 50 shows with those guys, and every one was, some epic memory of just being in front of a crowd and getting, watching them react to the music and just having an amazing time. So, it was, overall just an amazing experience.
I appreciate the opening spot at the TLA in Philly. I won't forget that night either. And I still like, your brother Eric, when I have to say that for the viewers because I can't just say Eric, but he's got that poster in his house, and I need to, like, especially with cell phones being as good as they are, to just get that and print it out and put it on my wall because it's such a great poster.
You didn't grab a poster at the end of the night?
No, I know. I
do that at all the shows, like all the Dead Kennedy shows. I would always, and with a lot of the NOFX shows, I'm always like grabbing posters and rolling them up. Like I'm just this obsessive poster collector.
I know.
Someday I'll have a house where I can hang them all up in one room. But you realize that there's not enough wall space in the world to hang up like 50 Dead Kennedy's posters and then like however many NOFX posters and everything else that I want to put on the wall. So someday I'll live in an enormous crazy mansion and it'll just be tiled with NOFX and Dead Kennedy's posters.
Well, what I'm gonna, like, I collect hockey jerseys and there's no way to display them. Like, what do? Do you display the front? Do you display the back? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna track down one of those like things they have at Spencer's where they display posters and you flip through the posters. And that's
a good one.
I don't know where you get one of those things, but I will own one of them, and it will be in a basement of mine. So speaking of the posters and all of the music that we grew up listening to, and just being like in your room as a kid, like you had the Green Day Kerplunk tape before that video ever hit MTV. I really want to know if there's any like musical guilty pleasures you have, like such as like Paula Abdul or somebody, because all I know of anything I've ever talked to you about with music is always been like underground bands or punk bands or anything. Is there any guilty pleasures you have?
Well, none of it's a guilty pleasure because I admit to all the pleasures and I'll back them 100%. So none of it's a guilty pleasure. But as far as like music that you might not expect I'm listening to, tomorrow night actually I'm going to see Sebastian Bach of Skid Row do his Sebastian Bach thing. So I love a lot of the old 80s hair metal bands, Skid Row, Poison, Guns N' Roses. I think, and it's more of a nostalgic pleasure than a guilty pleasure. It's the music that I listened to when I wanted something that rocked and was, a little bit hard-edged and a little bit dangerous before I really knew what, hard-edged and dangerous really could be with, punk rock and other types of music. So I still, have an affinity for Skid Row, and I'm very excited to see Sebastian Bach do I Remember You and You've Gone Wild tomorrow night. So.
Right. See, we'll have to accept that answer, but I really was looking for something. What do
you want? You want
I don't know, like Pat Benatar or somebody. I don't know.
Pat Benatar? I like Pat Benatar. I'll back Pat Benatar.
All right.
That's, what is it? Heartbreaker? That's a good song.
Yeah.
E.G. Daily, that's one of my favorites. The little known, she was in, the song from Better Off Dead, like where she's singing at the prom, she's singing at the winter dance.
Yeah.
It's E.G. Daily, One Way Love. That's a good song right there.
Oh, okay. I thought you said like she wrote Better Off Dead.
Well, it's that song, like I'm better off dead than be without you.
Amazing song. Amazing song.
Song.
And you know what? That Better Off Dead.
Lots of female 80s pop songs I'm into. So Pat Benatar, E.G. Daily, The Go-Go's, Kim Wilde. Who else? Who am I leaving out? Nana. I don't know.
Yeah. See, now we're getting somewhere.
But these guilty pleasures? This is good songs.
But Better Off Dead holds up in 2012 because I just showed my wife Better Off Dead, and she had never seen it like in the 80s or 90s or anything, and she laughed. The humor still holds up. I've like she did like License to Drive, but there's other movies that just I can't think of any, but they just failed. Didn't stand the test of time. But Better Off Dead was definitely one.
I have a friend of mine, I don't know if I told you this, but a friend of mine, he grew up, he never saw like any of the classic 80s movies that we've all seen, like none of them. So I made a list of like 50 80s movies and just decided I have to sit through it with him, sit through them all with him. So over the past like 2 years, I've just been like tracking him down and making him watch all these 80s movies for the first time ever, like just never saw Die Hard, never saw Ghostbusters, never saw Big Adventure, never saw Beetlejuice, and so one of them is Better Off Dead. We haven't watched it yet, but it's good to know that he will likely enjoy it when he sees it.
I don't always believe people like when they say they haven't seen Back to the Future or something like that. Like I don't know.
Actually, even he had seen Back to the Future, so
yeah,
that's a pretty hard one to miss.
Well, one quick question about Karate Kid. The scene where I guess it's where Mr. Miyagi and Daniel meet for the first time, and he's trying to do karate from the book, and Miyagi's like, I learned karate, huh? He's like, how'd you hurt your eye? He's like, I fell off my bike. And he's like, well, lucky you didn't hurt the hand. And then, like, Daniel kind of pauses and looks down. I don't why did he say that? Why did Mr. Miyagi say, lucky you didn't hurt your hand? And why did Daniel get annoyed by it? I never understood that.
Well, I think Mr. Miyagi was trying to suggest that he did not fall for Daniel's ruse. It's that when you fall off a bike, an eye injury would not be very common. However, when one falls from a bike, perhaps a hand injury would be something more likely to occur. So he was by simply saying that, he was calling Daniel a liar to his face, and Daniel was not so much offended as he was a little bit embarrassed and ashamed that he had just been caught in his web of deceit. I
know, but I know that's like what happened, but I just don't understand why the hand was picked out of all body parts. Like, he still could have injured his eye from falling off his bike. That's
a pretty rare injury, I think, to hurt your eye, to get a black eye from falling off. I would say that perhaps like you're lucky you didn't hurt your head, because that would be, if you fell off a bike, that would be thing that people are most concerned about hurting, but perhaps the writer felt that, the head was so close to the eye that it was not really proper that it wouldn't be enough of him catching him in a lie to saying the hands or whatever.
All right. So moving on quickly to Goonies, I have to ask one question, and you're like 75 for 75, but I'm so upset that I got this wrong, and I have to put you on the spot and ask you this Goonies thing. Okay. So opening scene, the chase, where it cuts to Chunk, and he's got the drink, and it overflows and hits him, and he says, "Ah, shit." What was the drink?
I'm imagining it was a chocolate milkshake.
Yeah, it was a milkshake, but I believe it was a strawberry milkshake.
Why do you believe it was a strawberry milkshake?
Well, because this came up at work, and I was wrong because I said it was a Pepsi because it's a milkshake in a Pepsi paper cup.
Yes.
And I was so adamant, I thought it was like he shook up the Pepsi and it splashed him in the face.
Definitely a milkshake.
It was definitely a milkshake, and I'm pretty sure it was a reddish color. So I'm assuming it was strawberry.
It was a chocolate milkshake. I could be wrong, but I would like to. I hope that when this goes live, we'll have an answer to this. Can I look it up while I'm talking to you?
Sure.
Can you still see me when I'm doing this?
Yeah, it's fine. This is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, maybe you can multitask. I have here. This is a little bit. This is a dark book. It's the book of questions, and I challenge you to answer one question. There's 1 through 200, and pick a number between 1 and 200. Some of these are pretty dark, I
just want to interrupt you here.
Okay.
According to funtrivia.com, the milkshake is strawberry flavor, so you win on that one.
I don't win because I was completely off, but just I'll.
Not that your viewers actually care about this, by the way, but Joey and I had a previous conversation about why the Fratelli guy starts singing opera to Chung and why Chung doing the Shema in front of him. So, or the Baruch prayer in front of him. So I actually looked it up and I found out what's it called? The aria that he's singing is from, I believe it's from M Butterfly or something. So there you go. No one cares. Again,
another scene I don't understand. I just even as a kid I couldn't wrap my mind around why in the first place he would start singing, and I always thought he was finishing the line that Chunk started singing.
Chunk was singing a Hebrew prayer out of fear. Right. He was praying to God, but the Fratelli, the brother Fratelli was it's not Francis, it's the other one. What's the other brother? It's Francis.
Jake.
So-and-so. Jake. So yeah. Jake Fratelli was singing opera just to intimidate Chunk, and because also he was an opera singer who, as we see early in the
right.
he sings to Sloth, which is also, I tracked down which one that is, which opera. And little known fact, the actor who played Jake Fratelli was actually a trained opera singer, and that's how that got worked into the movie.
He was good. I mean, he had the acoustics of the basement with the water running kind of working for it. It worked together really well. So do you think you can do a question in the Book of Questions?
Yeah, hit me.
All right, pick a number between 1 and 200. Don't pick 1 or 200, though.
All right, 27.
27. All right, here we go. Number 27. Oh, man, this is a long one.
Okay. Is it too long? Is it too stupid?
I don't know. If God appeared...
Those are the short ones. But go ahead.
Well, here we go. If God appeared to you in a series of vivid, moving dreams and told you to leave everything behind, travel alone to the Red Sea, and become a fisherman, what would you do? What if you were told to sacrifice your child?
I don't know. Dreams. I wouldn't do anything. I would probably talk about it and try to figure it out. But the idea that God exists because I saw him in a dream is sort of the problem with religion in general. That people think their dreams are real. It's not real. So right. I don't know. It would have to be. I need more evidence. I would say, okay, God, if you're, if you really exist and this is how you're planning to get me to kill my kid and travel to the Red Sea, we got to have a much longer discussion about your motives and what you were talking about and why. I'm not just going to listen to you because I had, ate some bad fish and had a weird dream.
I love how you break it down. Like, all right, God, you got to give me more. You got to give me the outline, and the writers were probably thinking Daniel had just that kind of analytics. I love it.
Think about things. Give me another one. That was too easy. Give me number 35. What's 35?
35. Okay, here we go. You're breaking the rules, by the way, but we'll do it.
I'm only allowed to do one. You can edit this one
out. Would you give up half of what you now own for a pill that would permanently change you so that 1 hour's sleep each day would fully refresh you? That's a good one.
Half of everything I own.
Half of everything you own.
For a pill that from now on I only need 1 hour of sleep ever.
Yes.
Yeah, you should edit this one out because I have to think about it. That's a good question. It would be nice to not have to sleep. I hate sleeping anyway. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, could I sleep for longer? Like, would I be allowed? Like, if I just wanted to, could I let myself sleep for longer?
I think 1
hour is the minimum.
Well, yeah, it doesn't say what you can spend the other 7 hours doing.
If I go on a really long flight, can I sleep for 5 hours or 6 hours of the flight? Or is it like I'm going to sleep for 1 hour and then I have to watch a stupid Adam Sandler movie?
I'm pretty sure that with the extra time.
Or do I get to, can I sleep for 6 hours and then just be ultra refreshed?
I think you can do all that. It's just the fact that you have a pill that has the power to fully refresh you for an hour of sleep. Now, you talked about like doing all this documentary work and staying until 4 or 5 in the morning. It sounds like something that wouldn't be a bad investment on your part.
It's kind of a good idea. I could get a lot more done. As long as I could sleep, like if for leisure, if I could nap and sleep just for fun, then I would probably go for it. If I could sleep to just pass time, I would probably take out a loan, give up half of what I own, get the pill, and then try to like buy back everything and pay it off with the extra hours that I could at an all night job. I could work graveyard shift at 7-Eleven.
Right.
All that money in a couple in a year or two and be fine. So
right.
Yeah, so I would do it.
Okay. All right, we do a crazy segment here on Joey Ritter Live, where it's called Turn It Off or Turn It Up. So I'm going to give you 5 songs. You tell me if you're turning them off or turning them up. All right? Okay. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Do I have to listen to it right now, or this is just in general?
This is
a philosophical question.
You're in the car. No, you're in the car tomorrow, and that song comes on. You turn it up or turn it off.
If I turn it off, do I have to listen to a different song? Like, what's the rules? Or is it just like I have a long drive, and I can either listen to Silence for 4 minutes or Smells Like Teen Spirit?
No, you have the option of other songs playing on other stations, yes.
I'd probably switch around the other stations.
Okay.
Is that an option? Turn it on, turn it off, or check the next station?
The correct answer is yes, you're turning it off. Okay.
It's not that it's a bad song. I feel that it Smells Like Teen Spirit, and there's a handful of songs that have just been overplayed and that are just killer. But I haven't listened to that song in a while, so maybe out of nostalgia, again, I would listen to it.
Right.
And pick it up, so.
That makes sense. I mean, if you heard it today and then heard it again tomorrow, you're turning it off. But if you haven't heard it in a while, it gets you in a good place.
It's been a while. I'll go with Turn It Up. Fine.
All right.
Check the other stations just in case.
Glad I got you to change your mind. All right, second song, Call Me Maybe, summer of 2012 hit.
That one I'm probably going to turn off, not because, I don't want to hate on that song too much, but the problem is, again, it's becoming the most overplayed song because everybody's doing parodies of it. Mm-hmm. So now I've heard like 1,000 parody versions of that song, and I don't really want to listen to it because it's going to start driving me crazy. So it's a preventative measure I have to turn
off. All right, the next one I think I know the answer to based on what you said before, but I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett.
Again, these are very popular songs is the problem.
Right.
So I don't want to say that I'm turning them off as a reflection on the quality of the song or the artist. It is simply that the songs have been played so much that I'm trying to avoid.
I'm saying you're in the car tomorrow afternoon,
right,
as it stands on August 2nd or 3rd, whatever it is. What are you doing?
All right, I'll turn that one off. I'll just enjoy my silent car ride for a little while.
All right. Celebrate good times, Kool and the Gang.
Tomorrow. Probably. This is actually a harder question I thought than I thought it would be. Like turn it on, turn it off. Because that could be a fun song.
Right.
I could celebrate good times, woohoo. But
we're gonna say turn it up.
Maybe I'm in the mood for something different. I can't predict my mood. I'll turn it off. That one's overplayed too. It's crazy.
All right.
Like a wedding in 1982 or something.
Yeah, but when they play that one at the weddings, it gets me up dancing. All right.
That's you.
Last one.
That's the questions here.
Last one. Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys.
I would probably turn that one up. I haven't listened to Dead Kennedys. I just started listening to them again, like sort of recently, like in the past couple months or something. Going like, I've been out of the band enough where I'm removed from it, where I'm not listening to it as part of work, and I'm not listening to it as whatever, and I've started listening to those guys. So it's been a while since I've listened to Dead Kennedys. So I'd love to hear that song again. Why not?
All right. That is all the time we have. Brilliant, as I knew it would be, and
there's no way that everybody watches this whole thing, like the whole way straight through.
You never know. Sometimes people, they have desk jobs. They can listen in headphones. You can stream things in your car. They might not sit there and watch it, but hey, we gave them something to listen to. Definitely,
noise.
Yeah.
We'll create some background noise for the universe. Okay.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for doing this, and you know what? I would love to have you as a repeat guest.
Anytime. Joey.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. See ya.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.